A hijacked Indian airliner sits on the ground in the United Arab Emirates. The Christmas spirit rallies the youngest survivors in flood-ravaged Venezuela. And in Rome, tens of thousands gather in St. Peter's Square this Christmas Eve. From CNN in Washington, this is WorldView. I'm Gene Randall. Judy Woodruff and Bernard Shaw are both off. A commandeered Indian airliner is on the ground at a military base in the United Arab Emirates, where the hijackers are said to be offering to release the women, children, and wounded on board. Reporter Vicky White is on the telephone in Dubai. Vicky, are these full-scale negotiations going on?
Yes, negotiations are currently underway. We've got very senior officials here negotiating with the hijackers. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, the Minister of Defense, has been down along with senior officials to discuss what will happen next with the hijackers.
Vicky, do we know about the status of the passengers? We heard reports earlier that some had been killed and that some are wounded.
There are reports, but none of them are confirmed. We've actually asked the officials. They say none are confirmed as yet. The only contact we have with the hijackers is via radio transmission. No one from the ground has been on the plane as yet.
So these talks are going on by two-way radio, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Vicky White reporting to us.
At the moment.
Go ahead, Vicky.
Okay, the hijackers at the moment are demanding water, food, and refueling. Refueling is currently underway, and they're also talking about releasing some of the hostages.
They're talking about releasing the women and the children and the wounded. How long have they been on the ground there?
They've been on the ground now for about a couple of hours, I would say.
And if you can, just describe the atmosphere there. I'm sure it is tinged with tension.
It is, but it's very much under control at the moment. The aircraft has been circling on the tarmac, where at the moment 700 meters from the aircraft. It's stationary at the moment. Up until now, it has been circling from point to point. We understand it's stationary at the moment as it refuels. There are also food vans that have been brought in. There's food at the moment at the location, and I assume they're waiting for it to go on board any moment.
And Vicky, finally, is it your understanding these negotiations are being conducted with officials of the UAE, or are there Indian officials in voice contact with the hijackers as well?
As far as I understand, the UAE are in contact with both Indian officials and the hijackers, but at the moment the negotiations are being held by the UAE government.
Vicky White reporting to us from Dubai. Thanks very much for the update. More than 180 passengers and crew are on board the jet, which began its journey with what should have been a routine one-hour flight from Kathmandu, Nepal to New Delhi, India. But hijackers armed with grenades and automatic weapons seized the plane. What followed was a zigzag journey across the Indian subcontinent and the Middle East as the air pirates looked for fuel, food, and a place to land. The plane put down briefly in Amritsar, India, and Lahore, Pakistan. Afghanistan refused it permission to land. Back in New Delhi, relatives of the passengers wait for news. The hijackers reportedly told the pilot they have killed 4 people. After refueling in Lahore, the plane headed to the Persian Gulf, eventually landing in the UAE, where the crisis continues at this hour. The concern that terrorists may target Americans at home and abroad has authorities on alert this holiday season. CNN's Kelly Wallace has a report for us from the White House. Kelly?
Well, Gene, White House officials say they are watching that hijacking of the Indian airliner as closely as they can. They are also monitoring developments on the terrorism front. The latest, Canadian authorities have issued an arrest warrant and have started a nationwide manhunt for 32-year-old Abdelmajid Dahoman. He's wanted for charges including making or possessing explosive substances. According to court documents, investigators believe he is connected to another Algerian, Ahmed Rassam, the man who was arrested 10 days ago for allegedly trying to smuggle bomb-making materials into the United States. Rassam is also wanted in Canada for explosive charges. Now, investigators believe the 2 men were staying at a Vancouver motel in the weeks before Rassam headed to the United States. Last night, investigators searched Dahoman's Montreal apartment, but no explosives were found. Law enforcement officials tell CNN there are no indications that Dahoman may have crossed into the U.S. from Canada. One law enforcement official also says that federal officials are consulting with the mayors and the U.S. attorneys of some of America's leading cities. But U.S. officials across the board continue to stress that so far there is no credible information about specific terrorist threats on American soil.
The investigators are following a number of leads. I think they've been very forthright in keeping the American public informed. But while they follow the leads, where we are is that there's no specific credible threat against a particular target.
In another case, an Algerian man and a Canadian woman were arrested at Vermont's border with Canada. In a court hearing yesterday, federal prosecutors say they believe the woman may be tied to a terrorist group, the Algerian Islamic League. So far, investigators have not tied those Vermont arrests with the case of Ahmed Rassam. Gene?
Kelly Wallace at the White House. Thank you, Kelly. In Venezuela, some survivors of the devastating flooding and mudslides are somehow managing to celebrate Christmas. CNN's Harris Whitbeck is at a refugee center in the capital, Caracas. Harris?
Gene, the effort to make this Christmas as happy as possible for the refugees have been taking place all day. It started this morning with the placing of Christmas trees in some of the shelters where thousands of people have been living for more than a week now. There was a mass earlier today at another shelter. This mass took place at a military fort that is being used to give the refugees housing until permanent housing could be found for them. These efforts come as the country continues to come to grips with the magnitude of the disaster. The destruction of the infrastructure was pretty much total in some parts of the state of Vargas. Bridges, highways, and most of the communication, the land communication between the Vargas state and the capital was cut off. Now, the Venezuelan government has the help of many international donors. The United States sent several miles or kilometers of Bailey bridges, which are temporary bridges that are used to temporarily connect these stretches of highway that were torn up. The idea is to establish land communications as quickly as possible so that reconstruction efforts can begin. Gene?
Okay. Thank you, Harris. At the Vatican, Pope John Paul II is celebrating Midnight Mass in St. Peter's Basilica. CNN's Rome Bureau Chief Gail Young is on the phone with us. Gail?
Gene, this is the 21st Midnight Mass that Pope John Paul II has marked in his 21 years of Pope. You're seeing now some exterior shots of St. Peter's Basilica here in Rome, beautifully restored and cleaned, with only unveiled. The scaffolding was only taken down a few weeks ago. The Vatican has prepared for several years for this big event, the start of the Jubilee year marking the 2000th anniversary of Christ's birth. Pope John Paul II marked the beginning of the Jubilee earlier this evening by opening special doors here in St. Peter's that are only opened on the major anniversaries of the birth of Christ. During this special year, the Church is expecting 30 million pilgrims to come to Rome. During this year, they will be able to receive special indulgences or forgivenesses of sin. You can see the Holy Father here opening this door and the crowds in St. Peter's Square cheering. He's wearing a special blue and gold robe made for this event. This ceremony was created in the year 1500, but it was modified a little bit this year to take into account the Pope's frail health. Gene?
And Gail, he clearly shows that frail health, doesn't he? I know he is not celebrating Christmas morning Mass, for instance.
He's not celebrated Christmas morning Mass for several years now. He traditionally does the midnight Mass, but does skip the morning Mass. However, he is looking as good as he has been looking lately. He certainly has, this ceremony has been going on for well over an hour, and he has carried it through. And you can see him there leaning on his staff. This is a special staff that is a symbol of his pontifical power.
Gail Young in Rome. Merry Christmas, Gail. And now to Christmas Eve observances in the ancient town of Bethlehem. CNN's Walter Rogers has more from the West Bank.
It was a celebration of 2,000 years of Christianity. Midnight Mass, the Millennium Christmas in Bethlehem. This church, a few meters away from the limestone grotto where it is believed Jesus Christ was born. Bethlehem is controlled by Palestinians now. Yasser Arafat is custodian of this corner of the Holy Land. But on earlier Christmases, it was Israeli, and before that, Jordanian, British, Turkish, and even Roman. Still, it has always belonged to the faithful, those who in their hearts cherish the carol, "O come, let us adore him." Outside in Manger Square, it was a special moment this Christmas, choirs singing praise of the Christ child. It was ecumenical, too. Bethlehem is overwhelmingly Muslim now, and they spilled out of a mosque into Manger Square while Christians sang of a once-in-a-thousand-years Christmas.
Tonight I'm going to enjoy the celebration of the Lord's birth in Bethlehem. What a blessing, what an awesome experience.
I feel like saying wow backwards. Wow.
Still, the United States announcement of a worldwide terrorist alert was felt here, Bethlehem's mayor saying it frightened people away from the birthplace of the Prince of Peace.
People now all over the world, they are scared to travel because of the end of the millennium.
That hurts you here in Bethlehem?
No doubt.
In Shepherd's Field, below this mountaintop town, pilgrims kept watch, where shepherds watched 2,000 years ago. Then an infant child was pursued by King Herod. Now that child, the Christ, perhaps the most influential figure in the past 2 millennia.
His life did change the course of history.
Changed the course of history, so much so, perhaps, that Jesus' 2000th birthday party has now become a global event, this millennial Christmas. Gene?
Walter, tell us about the numbers of visitors there, given the talk of terrorism.
Gene, there have been thousands and thousands filling Manger Square this Christmas, and it's been fascinating because it's one of the few times you see Christians and Muslims openly mingling in this part of the world and mingling harmoniously, reflecting the spirit of the Prince of Peace. Gene?
Walter Rogers in Bethlehem. Thank you, Walter. Still ahead on WorldView, a Christmas Eve spacewalk, fixing Hubble's troubles.
People everywhere have abandoned traditional commerce and turned to the one company that knows more about e-commerce than any other, Harbinger. We've helped 40,000 companies and 85% of the Fortune 500 connect with customers and suppliers reliably and securely. And with Harbinger.net, our e-commerce center, companies conduct global business-to-business transactions in real time on the net. Harbinger. We make e-commerce work.
Until now, there has been a wall between you and the tools of serious trading. That wall is coming down. The information and technology professionals use to trade is now available to everyone. Daytech Online. The rules are changing.
Every year, millions of people start driving. And they keep on driving. Where will all the energy come from? That's why we're on the road to ExxonMobil.
6 weeks before one of the biggest games of my life, I felt a strange pain in my chest. What my doctor found was my toughest opponent yet. 3 of my arteries were more than 90% blocked. After recovering from surgery, lowering my high cholesterol became more important than football. Later, I was fortunate enough to coach my team in the biggest game of the season. That's the kind of play we need! Along with a healthy diet and regular exercise, taking Zocor every day helps significantly lower my total cholesterol.
Zocor is a prescription medication and is not right for everyone, including women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, or people with liver problems. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems, because serious side effects can result. Tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience while on Zocor and about any medicines you are taking.
When diet and exercise are not enough, talk to your doctor about Zocor. Take care of yourself. It's your future. Be there.
Out here, the stories unfold like a map. Stories written across the sky with the tip of an eagle's wing. Stories to fill a scrapbook you'd want to page through again and again. But first, you've got to go to where the stories live. You'll need an outfitter for the journey. Ford is your outfitter. With the most far-reaching sport utilities on Earth, created to take you where the stories begin and never end. Ford Outfitters. No boundaries.
In our Worldview Minute, Russia's military commander in Chechnya says the final assault has begun on the capital, Grozny. And a Russian official in the breakaway republic says troops are days away from seizing the city, where tens of thousands of Chechen civilians may be trapped. In Africa, an army mutiny over pay became an apparent coup d'etat Friday in the Ivory Coast. The former army commander in the West African nation has been on state television announcing the overthrow of President Henri Konan Bedie, who had appealed for resistance. Bedie's fate is unclear. A Bosnian Serb accused of raping and torturing Muslim women will stand trial at The Hague for crimes against humanity. War crimes prosecutors say NATO troops captured Zoran Vukovic Thursday in the town of Foča, where the atrocities allegedly took place in 1992. Two of Shuttle Discovery's astronauts have spent much of their Christmas Eve spacewalking as they finish repairs on the Hubble Space Telescope. CNN's space correspondent Miles O'Brien has the latest for us from Atlanta. Miles?
Gene, the spacewalkers are now about 4 hours into this, the third and final spacewalk of this third Hubble repair mission. Spacewalkers John Grunsfeld and Steve Smith had a couple of things on their job list today, significant things. First of all, they had to install a new satellite transmitter, which allows data to come back to scientists on the ground from the Hubble Space Telescope some 360 miles above us. Let me show you who's who here. This is John Grunsfeld here. He's at the end of that 50-foot robotic arm. Beneath him, Steve Smith, the senior spacewalker on this particular mission. There you see the base of the Hubble Space Telescope. They successfully installed that satellite transmitter, and if you look very carefully in their hands there, I believe it's in Steve Smith's hands right now, they have taken out an old tape recorder that the Hubble used to record data, and they're in the process of replacing it with a solid-state recorder, with no moving parts. A lot of very small bolts and nuts to connect, and some coaxial cable, not unlike what you would use on your television. It was a difficult task, very labor-intensive on John Grunsfeld's hands, and a couple of hours ago, he had a near mishap. Listen in.
Okay, in my right hand I have a 5/16 7.3 that I'm holding onto very tightly. Did it come off the socket, Kenny?
All right, basically what happened was he lost a little piece of his socket wrench. Now that's not a very big deal if you're in your garage working on your car. You just pick it up off the ground. In space it's a big deal. They like to have everything tethered because otherwise it becomes just another piece of space junk. Gene?
Thank you, Miles. Still to come on Worldview, more pictures from Midnight Mass in Vatican City, a Mass being celebrated by Pope John Paul II.
Welcome to a whole new world of e-commerce. Harbinger.net, created by the company that's helped 40,000 businesses and 85% of the Fortune 500 succeed in business-to-business e-commerce. Here, customers and suppliers connect and trade on the net. Here, business is conducted globally in real time. Harbinger.net. From Harbinger, we make e-commerce work.
Oh, Mom, it's great. My first apartment. You should see it. It's huge.
When you've got things to talk about, it's a good idea to dial 10-10-321 first.
And I got a great view of the river.
With 10-10-321, you get 50% off calls over 10 minutes. That's just 8 cents a minute, day or night, and no monthly fees. And at 50% off, you can share every last detail.
And I even have a garden.
Talk as long as you want with 10-10-321.
At Oldie, we see every client as unique. Take Jackson Drake, architect and former customer of a full-cost broker. Jackson switched to Oldie for our Premium Plus Money Market series to receive its competitive yield as well as free check writing. Plus, Oldie's advice helped him design a carefully balanced portfolio. Best of all, Oldie's advice comes with dramatic commission savings over full-cost firms. Spend your time focused on life. Call Oldie, America's full-service discount broker.
Four airbags, a steel safety cage, and a whiplash protection seating system. All the safety you'd expect in a Volvo. At a price you may not. Introducing the Volvo S40.
Great walk, huh, Jake? Your next call.
Every year, LensCrafters runs Gift of Sight missions to bring sight to needy people around the world.
We change lives with these glasses.
And the more we collect, the more people we can help.
Please bring us your used glasses today.
One small step for man.
High roads of the future.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
I think religion in the next millennium will be much the way it is now, with one exception. There won't be the competition, the conflict between religions.
What we need to avoid is the arrogance of one faith seeking to exclude the insights and the teachings of others.
For the first time in history, great religions are coming together to know each other, to know one another better, and to work for the betterment of the world community.
Conflict in the name of different religious tradition is can reduce. Meantime, the potential to serve humanity can increase.
We must accept our differences. We must accept God do not create people to agree. There is no one single religion.
My prayer and hope that the next century, the next millennium, will find people who call themselves religious have a reputation for being the kindest, most respectful, most intelligent people on planet Earth.
Let us coexist as brothers, neither threatening the integrity of the other. That will be the way to begin a new millennium.
This Voices of the Millennium is brought to you by Sir Speedy. For outstanding printing, copying, and digital services, call Sir Speedy.
It's time for the world to go to work. A brochure is emailed to Sir Speedy for printing, a manual for electronic copying, a report for output. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people down the street, across the country, and around the world use the internet to do business with the Sir Speedy Global Digital Network. If hundreds of thousands of businesses trust Sir Speedy, chances are we can handle your documents. Call Sir Speedy, the Printing, Copying, Digital Network.
Here is the latest on the Indian Airlines passenger jet hijacked on a flight from Nepal to India today. The plane is at a military base in the United Arab Emirates after a harrowing journey that included stops in India and Pakistan. Senior UAE officials and the gunmen are said to be negotiating the release of women, children, and the wounded aboard the Airbus. The hijackers are demanding food and fuel. No word yet on their ultimate aims. Still ahead on WorldView, more from St. Peter's Basilica as the Pope celebrates the birth of Christ.
It's okay, it's not a live animal. It's not the shoes that you wanted.
The Lexus December to Remember sales event.
Honey, you gotta see this.
Okay. You'll find values you never believed possible.
You like it?
I can't.
The December to Remember sales event ends January 3rd. Missing it would definitely spoil the surprise. See your Lexus dealer.
Now there's 2 new ways to save all night long. Sprint Nickel Nights just got better, and you get to choose which way is best for you. Now, when you switch to Sprint Nickel Nights, you can choose to include that great 5 cents a minute rate on your calling card calls. Or you can choose that 5 cents a minute rate on calls to anywhere in Canada from home. Call 1-877-4-NIGHTS now and switch to Sprint. You'll get Sprint Nickel Nights plus your choice of either calling card calls or calls to Canada from home. It's Sprint's best rate at the time that's best for you. And now you can include calling card calls or calls to Canada from home. So no matter where you are, at home or with your calling card, you're free to talk the night away. Isn't that the point of contact? Switch to Sprint Nickel Nights and include your choice of calling card calls or calls to Canada from home. Call 1-877-4NIGHTS now.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Bell Atlantic, your guide through the wiles of communications.
Tonight in the Crossfire, former vice presidential candidate Jack Kemp. Why hasn't he endorsed any of the GOP candidates? Tonight, 7:30 Eastern on CNN.
Ever go to a big multiplex cinema, look around and say, now this makes entertainment sense? I've got a choice of movies. They start about every half hour for my convenience, and the sight and sound quality is always great. Someday, somebody's going to figure out how to do this with cable. Somebody did.
Hi, folks. $2.99 per month with only $9.99 out of pocket for a gorgeous new 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee, all at Southeast Jeep. Nolensville Road near Thompson Lane. That's right, folks. Only $2.99 per month for a gorgeous new 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. Loaded with options and warranty. A short term and a low payment. Only at Southeast Jeep, Nolensville Road near Thompson Lane. But remember, you got to call me now.
100 hours of Millennium 2000. Only on CNN.
And finally, tonight, we go back to Vatican City, where Pope John Paul II is celebrating Midnight Mass. CNN's Gail Young, once again, is on the telephone. Gail?
Gene, thousands are gathered here at St. Peter's in the Vatican to celebrate this special Christmas Midnight Mass, a very special Mass this year because it also marks the start of the Catholic Church's Jubilee year. These special years are held to mark the major anniversaries of the birth of Christ, and certainly the 2000th anniversary is especially an important event. The Vatican has been...
Got it. Hey guys, we're in. Okay, hang on.
Et hoc vobis signum, invenietis infantem pannis involutum, et positum in presepio. Et subito fatta est cum angelo, multitudo militiae celestis, laudantium Deum et dicentium.
The Pope traditionally...
Gloria in altissimis Deo. Et super terram pax in hominibus bone voluntatis verbum Domini.
Thanks for joining us on WorldView. I'm Gene Randall. I'll see you tomorrow. For all of us at CNN, have a wonderful Christmas. The Moneyline News Hour is next, a special presentation on the new economy. Good night.
Εκ του κατά Λουκάν Αγίου Ευαγγελίου το ανάγνωσμα.